Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here. Well, here we are once again with a new season of Star Trek Discovery. This marks, of course, the return of the Disco Deep Dives, where I take a look at the Easter eggs, canon connections, and continuity bits in new episodes of Discovery. This week's episode is, of course, the third season premiere, That Hope Is You, Part 1. While Discovery has jumped ahead to the 32nd century and well clear of any previously shown time period in Star Trek, that doesn't mean that the references will end. As you will see with this video, there are still plenty of references to Star Trek canon peppered throughout the episode. So let's jump right in and take a look. At the very beginning of the episode, we have a starship chase through a debris field. This debris isn't just random, however. If you'll notice, in the first couple seconds of the shot, you see that this is in fact the remains of a Federation starship. While the full name is not visible, we see that it starts with USS and a registry number beginning NCC. This is our first introduction to the character of Book, and he's being chased by a smuggler called Cosmo. Cosmo is played by David Benjamin Tomlinson, who we have seen before in Star Trek Discovery, most notably as the Saurian crew member Linus in Season 2. Speaking of Cosmo, he is apparently a Betelgeusian, a species previously only seen in the deep background of Star Trek the Motion Picture. He does of course get a makeup update for his Discovery appearance, and there are also a number of other legacy Star Trek species that we see in this episode. There are, of course, the prominent ones. We see Andorians and Orions most notably throughout this episode. However, we also see a couple of Lurians. Lurians are Morn species, Morn of course being the barfly character from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. There's also a blink and you'll miss it Cardassian. I actually had a bit of difficulty trying to get the screen cap of the Cardassian, but you can see him in this scene here. We also get another founding member of the Federation, a Tellarite. And finally, one that I was not able to find on my own, but thanks to Jorg Hillebrand on Twitter, we see there is an Amarazaran. I think that's how it's pronounced. First seen in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Again, like I said, I was unable to find him in the episode, but apparently he is there. When Burnham is inventorying her emergency pack, she refers to the Starfleet Insignia as a Delta Shield. This has long been the name for the Starfleet badge outside of canon sources, but this is the first time that it is referred to as such on screen. We come now to the opening credits, and a number of changes have been made to the credits for the third season. First of all, the crystal that floats past the camera at the beginning of the credits was green in Season 2, but is now red for Season 3. There was some thought that it represented time crystals in Season 2, and now here in Season 3 it may represent dilithium, specifically the fact that a lot of dilithium has been destroyed in the burn, which could be why it is such a deep red color. The human figure overlooking the scene has been changed to now clearly be Sonequa Martin Green. In previous seasons, this figure had a much different look, but now is clearly recognizable as the actor who plays Michael Burnham. We also get these interesting looking bots in the credits. They kind of remind me of Eve from the WALL-E film, mixed with some maybe DOT-7 influences from last season of Discovery. Not sure when or how these will play a part in the series, but I'm assuming we will see them at some point during the season. The phaser in the opening credits now morphs into a new style of weapon. This might possibly be the current iteration of the Starfleet phaser. We also get a detailed breakdown and look at Book's ship, the Nautilus, the ship that we saw during the phaser fight at the beginning of the episode. We also get a glimpse of the new Starfleet Insignia, which we've seen in trailers before, as well as a new title font for Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek retains the older font from the first two seasons of Discovery, but the Discovery part is now in a brand new font, reflecting their changed circumstances and arrival in the 32nd century. And finally, at the very end of the credits, we see a graphical representation of the wormhole that Burnham and Discovery went through at the end of Season 2. Coming back from the credits, we get a reference to the Gorn from Book. He says that they destroyed 2 light years of subspace. The Gorn, of course, are the reptiloid species first introduced in the original series episode Arena. Interestingly, at this time, Burnham would likely not be aware of the Gorn, given that, prior to this episode, Discovery took place before first contact with them in Arena. However, there are a couple of ways that she might have learned about the species. First of all, in Season 1, in Lorca's secret hideaway, we see a Gorn skeleton. It's possible that Burnham has investigated the origins of it at some point. We also know that the Gorn are well known in the Mirror universe, and it's possible that during Burnham's time there, she learned about them from Georgiou or another source. Book mentions that his dilithium recrystallizer has been damaged. Recrystallizing dilithium was a technology that was discovered by Mihani Ikahalika Poe, as mentioned in the Short Treks episode Runaway. The technology was also later discovered by Spock in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. By the time of Star Trek The Next Generation, recrystallizing dilithium is common. However, in this post-burn world, it seems as though the technology has become much rarer. Speaking of propulsion technologies, we get callouts to a few different ones by Book in this scene. He mentions Benamite, which is the crystal used in quantum slipstream drives. Quantum slipstream was introduced in Star Trek Voyager in the episode Hope and Fear. Benamite was mentioned in the episode Timeless as an element required for successful use of the quantum slipstream drive. Book also mentions tachyon solar sails. This technology was seen in the Deep Space Nine episode Explorers, where large solar sails would be bombarded by tachyons pushing a vessel to warp speeds. Book also mentions trilithium. Trilithium is an extremely potent power source, featured most prominently in the film Star Trek Generations, where it was used as a nuclear inhibitor to halt all fusion within a star. We're not sure how it's used to power propulsion yet, but that may be something we learn later in the season. When telling Burnham about what has happened to make the galaxy what it is today, he refers to an event known as the Burn. This is what we know so far. Book refers to the Burn as the day the galaxy took a hard left, and most dilithium went boom. So not all, but most. And apparently due to this, a lot of people died, presumably when warp reactors of starships went up. The Federation was not sure what happened, or why, or that it wouldn't happen again. We also know that it happened between 100 and 120 years before the year 3188. What exactly caused the burn we still don't know at this point, but hopefully this is a mystery that we will learn more of as the season progresses. And finally, Burnham learns from Book the current status of time travel technology in the galaxy. Apparently, all time travel equipment was outlawed and destroyed following the Temporal Wars. The Temporal Wars would seem to refer to the conflict as seen in Star Trek Enterprise, involving the temporal agents including Daniels, a character we saw frequently in that show. It would seem that after the outbreak of full-scale temporal war, once the conflict had been resolved, people came together to ban all time travel technology. Well, those were all of the Easter eggs and canon connections that I was able to find in this premiere episode of Season 3 of Discovery. Were there any that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Really looking forward to these continued disco deep dives throughout Season 3 of Discovery. Hope you'll be able to join me for the rest of the 12 episodes. Really curious to see if we learn more about what the burn is. That kind of seems to be the mystery they're setting up for the season so far. So yeah, join me for that. Thank you so much to the Patreon supporters for their help in bringing these videos to you. I truly do appreciate it. Could not do it without you. Thank you to everyone else for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you thought this video was worth it, give this video a share with someone you think might appreciate interesting discussion of Easter eggs in Star Trek Discovery episodes. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and live long and prosper.